Hey everyone, welcome back to another Horizon 5 video. Today, we're going to be taking a bit of a deeper look at some of the new upgrade parts added for Horizon 5. These are mainly the semi-slick, slick, and off-road race tires, as well as drift tires, also the new differentials, the rally differential and drift differential. Now this isn't a full in-depth analysis or anything, I just didn't have that much time in the week I had access to the preview, and during that week I wanted to cover some other content as well. So this is just more of an extended look into what these new parts can do for you, and some interesting results that I found in this early testing. We're going to start with a grip test I ran with the various different tires, to see what straight line grip looks like between the on-road tire options. For this test, I built the same car in Horizon 4 and Horizon 5, a 69 Mustang. Both swapped with the 6.2-liter V8 and with max engine upgrades. They have almost the exact same stats here, same weight, torque, and lateral Gs, just a difference of 1 horsepower, strangely. So essentially these are the same cars. I then took them each to a drag strip and tested their speed through a speed trap. All the tests were conducted using an auto transmission to keep things as consistent as possible, and you will notice that in Horizon 4, I'm in winter. Don't worry, I retested a few of these results in spring just to be sure, and got effectively the exact same speeds, only increased by 0.1 mile per hour or so. Besides, the main test here is to see the difference in tires within the same game. But it is interesting to see that Horizon 5's times are faster across the board. You can see here that my average Horizon 5 run on stock tires is a 145.22, and in Horizon 4, I only hit 139.92. That's a difference of over 5 miles an hour. That is significant in and of itself, so let's talk about that quick because there are absolutely a few different possible reasons for this. 1. The speed trap distances might just be different between the two games. These are both technically half-mile drag strips, but it's possible the speed trap distances are a bit off. Just want to throw that out there. Another possibility is that automatic transmissions might be better and faster in Horizon 5, leading the cars to shift more optimally. I did check to see if they were shifting at the same RPM, and it looks like they are, but there could be more subtle differences there. Alright, finally, I want to get to the reason that I'm hoping and thinking the Horizon 5 speeds are higher. And that's because the cars as a whole feel grippier in Horizon 5. The times are faster purely because the cars in Horizon 5 have more grip, which in my time with the preview absolutely felt like the case. Alright, now let's move on to the real important bit here and look at our data. Now, don't be scared. I know this looks like a lot of math, but I promise there won't be a quiz after the video. So this shows us on the left all the different tire compounds that I tested. Moving to the right, we have the average achieved speed in Horizon 4 with the selected tire, then the percentage increase in speed over the stock tire, then the PI increase over the stock tire. Then this data all repeats for the Horizon 5 values. Right away, there are some significant differences. Looking at the speed differences, we can see right away that Horizon 4 offered much bigger straight line grip improvements when improving the tire compound across the board. Stock tire to race tire is a 2% bump. On the Horizon 5 side, we can see our biggest bump outside of drag tires is actually on the semi-slick race tire, not the slick race tire, and that only offers a 1.2% bump. I would have expected things to be a bit more linear here in Horizon 5 like it is in Horizon 4, but you can see that the slick race tire actually offers slower launch grip than the semi-slick, and at an increased performance index cost. Now, of course, this is kind of where the test breaks down. Although this test is a fairly accurate grip test, it's only testing launch or straight line grip, not cornering and sidewall grip. And that's a lot harder to test, but we'll get back to that later. I do just want to point that out for now, that this test absolutely has its limits. Back to this table though, we can see some other interesting differences. For one, PI cost is much cheaper in Horizon 5 in order to compensate for the lesser increase in grip. This also shows us pretty well that even for cornering, the benefits are smaller than they were in Horizon 5. Drag tires also cost much less in Horizon 5. Horizon 4's drag tires are between sport and race for their PI cost, whereas Horizon 5's are between street and sport, even though the drag tire is the fastest tire on this test for both games. So clearly PI is being calculated quite differently in Horizon 5. So those are the most interesting things that I took away from this data, but let me know what you guys see here. I also took a handful of different cars out and drove circuit races with each of these compounds. So now I want to take my experience and feeling with that, combined with this data on straight line and launch grip, and figure out what it means for tire upgrades in Horizon 5. Well, I think the big thing here is that across the board, Horizon 5's track tires are grippier. Rear-wheel drive builds were significantly less prone to having the rear end slide out, and they felt really nice. So is it still worth it to upgrade tires? Yes, definitely. Although the gains in performance are smaller, so are the PI costs. That being said, I feel like semi-slick race tires are gonna be the go-to in most free roam and online situations, whereas slick race tires are going to find their home in rivals. The slick tires are great when the conditions are perfect, the tires are warm, and you can drive smoothly. But as you can see in the data, they don't necessarily always offer more grip than the semi-slicks. In fact, on launch, they struggle more to grip up. They are also a bit more prone to sudden loss of traction, but again, in a perfect setting, they do outpace the semi-slicks, hence why I believe they'll work well in rivals. In online or just free roam driving, you're a lot more likely to need to make a quick correction or dip off the road for a bit, and especially for online, a quick launch is very important. This is why the semi-slicks are going to likely make their way onto most high-speed online builds, at least in my opinion. That, and the fact that they cost less PI, leaving more room for things like power or weight reduction. Let's talk quickly now about stock, street, and sport tires. I like that these offer smaller reward for smaller cost, because instead of players often foregoing grip entirely for max power meta builds, I think it's going to be easier and more valuable to at least bump the tires up a bit without having to sacrifice things like too much power and top speed. Instead of tires being a major decision now, it's more about fine-tuning the build. This carries over into other tires as well, drag and drift. For drag, these tires suck at cornering now, and I think and hope that they'll have less of a place in front-wheel drive meta builds, for example. They're more likely to just be used for drag. Time will tell if that's the case, but this is definitely how I'm feeling initially. Now let's talk drift tires, as well as talking about the drift differential. These are upgrades that you'll of course be tempted to put on a drift car. So are there situations where you won't want them, and are they worth it? In short, yeah, I think these parts are going to be obvious choices for any drift build, low or high power. What's great about the tires is that they don't have a lot of in-corner grip, but they do have a good amount of grip while drifting. This makes initiations really smooth and flowy, while also ensuring that you aren't banging the rev limiter and maxing out your wheel speed too easily, especially on high power builds. They actually do feel like popular real-world drift tires, which was a feeling missing in past Horizons. There are some low power, say sub 200 horsepower builds, where I feel stock compounds might be better, but to be honest, even on those builds, it still feels better to me running the drift compound. I will always remember one of my first real-life drift days when I thought low rear grip would be key in my 150 horsepower, if that, 240SX. And it did donuts and figure eights pretty well, but I had a terrible time on the track. I couldn't initiate corners consistently and just kept spinning out. Then that same day, I bought some used, wider, and grippier tires from a buddy, went back out on the track, and immediately linked the whole course. The improvement was insane. That's how the drift tires feel on low power builds. Sure, stock tires might break away easier and slide around a lot, but the drift tires still just feel better for actual drifting and a bit more realistic to me. Now for the drift differential. I'll be honest, although it did feel a bit better, locking up seemingly more reliably, If you made me do a blind test between the race diff and the drift diff, everything else the same, I probably couldn't reliably tell you the difference. It's not like it costs any more or less PI, so it's no harm to run it over any of the other diffs, but I just couldn't really put into words how it improved my drifting. It just felt that tiny bit better, but honestly I just couldn't even tell if it was more than a placebo. I'm really curious though for more of you guys to get your hands on the game and for a longer period of time than I did, and maybe offer some more insight on that. I'm very curious to see what we all find once the game's been out for a while. And now onto rally and off-road settings. I feel the same way with the differential selection, honestly. You know, all other variables the same, the differentials alone just seemed to not make much of a difference. Now, it is worth saying that all the different differentials come with different default tuning settings, and maybe that is the developer's main intention with these new diff choices. It's not as much about making the part feel different on its own, it's more about making things simpler for people who don't often tune, because if they just select the rally diff for a rally car, well, they'll get good default diff tuning settings for a rally car, or drift car, or whatever. Although I do believe there are minor differences in the way these differentials feel, and there, at least now, doesn't seem to be any reason not to choose the correct diff for the type of driving you plan on doing, at the end of the day, if you're going to be tuning your differential anyway, I just don't feel that these upgrades impact that much. Now, finally, let's talk off-road tires. We've got the new off-road race and rally. I had expected the off-road race tires to be better suited only for true off-roading, like not even on dirt roads, I'm talking jeeps, rock climbing, and running sand dunes type of stuff, whereas I expected rally tires to be better suited for dirt and gravel roads. This was not really the case though. It seems that the tires do perform appropriately to their name. Rally, after all, isn't always off-road, it often takes place on mixed surfaces with some paved roads and some not. And this is where the rally tires in Horizon 5 shine. They offer decent grip and response on paved roads, while also being competitive off-road. The off-road race tires themselves, though, truly own off-road surfaces. For events that don't have any paved roads, off-road race tires are king. They have really impressive grip and driving feel. I'm actually immensely excited to make some more wild dirt and sand rally builds with these. And to be honest, I love the look of them on cars too. These tires may perform pretty well in rally, but honestly, between rally and off-road race tires for rally events, I think it's going to come down to the specific track layout and driver preference. For cross-country events though, I think obviously the off-road race tires are going to be the go-to tires here. They feel amazing. I'm excited for you guys to get the chance to try them out on your builds. And with that, there you have it. Again, these are just one guy's anecdotes with very simple and limited tests on only a few cars and only spending a short time with the game. So don't take what I say here as gospel, but hopefully this does give you all a better idea of what you're getting into in Horizon 5, so you can kind of skip over some of the initial testing and just jump right into building cars for the spec that you want. And ultimately, I think that's what these parts and this game is really focusing on, letting you further dial in a focus for your builds and kind of min-max in a way. And for me, it's been really nice to see and experience. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you found this video enjoyable and helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.